So something to eat is what we say. It's nice. Yes. Breath of I think you give them up.
Hi, it's another time with somebody Ikani, and welcome to another training series on our program from Chaos2Clarity. On set this afternoon is a wonderful friend, sister, very dear to me. We've shared life together in many ways, and today she has an inspiring story to share with every one of us. And I hope that story motivates that 20-year-old, 25-year-old who is at the junction of making critical life decisions. Let's see how her story will inspire you to do better and do more. My guest is not another person than Oluchi Moye Okolo. She has a middle name called she's called Anne as well. Many people don't know that. I'm only privileged to know that. So you're welcome, Oluchi.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
It's such a delight. Meanwhile, it's been a while. We're trying to get Oluchi on board on set for this session, and I'm happy that she was able to make it here today. So can we meet you, Oluchi?
Okay. You already mentioned it. My name is Oluchi Okolo. Okay, you mentioned Anne, so that's my middle name. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Started my primary, secondary, and then university when I moved over to the University of Abuja.
Yeah.
And then finished and went for my youth service somewhere down in Taraba. And it's a surprise that I could go all the way there and stay till the very end.
Right.
And then finished, went back to worked for a while, and then went back for my master's. I attended the Pan Atlantic University, where I did media and communications.
Right.
And yeah, so that's pretty much a bit of my background.
Right. So so I know that you have a very thriving career in the public sector. I also know that you're a very intelligent person, and you've really applied yourself to building yourself in a particular career. What were the motivations? What were the things that inspired you in this career path?
Okay, let me go way back to when I was growing up. I saw my mom bring something to the table.
Right.
Because back then it was as though it was only the male that would do all the
right.
carrying of the bills and all the big stuff.
Right.
But I saw that my mom also, in her own little way, would bring on board anything that would be of value to the family, to help grow the family. I said to myself, if my mom could do this, and I should even do much better.
Amazing.
And so I set up to go all out, achieve the much I could achieve. The driving force for me was to add value. No matter where I am, add value. And that was what spurred me on in everything I did.
Fantastic. You mentioned family, and I also know that you now have your family. Being a very successful public servant, how are you able to achieve work-life balance between family, a thriving career, developing yourselves, and also the fact that I know you carry out some community activities around church, and you do some other extracurricular activities. How do you balance all of this?
I'll tell you, It's not an easy feat.
Definitely.
But of course, with God on your side and proper planning.
Yeah, so could you break that proper planning? What
Yes.
exactly goes into proper planning?
So you would need to understand your role.
Great.
Your role as a woman, your role as a wife, your role as a mother, and your role as a career person.
Right.
That has to deliver on any assignment that you have taken on. And so with that at the back of your mind, it helps you to plan properly. For example, I know that I have to take care of my family. For me, family comes first.
Yeah.
And so I have to get up very early and ensure that everything about the family is on point. Give everyone the assignments that needs to be done, take care of the kids, take care of my husband, take care of the domestic support, and then shoot out to my office and get things done as quickly as I can. Now, it doesn't matter if you spend the whole day. The important thing is, are you adding value for the time you're spending?
Yeah.
So as long as you've added the required value that is required for that day, then you can go home with your heart fully at rest and fulfill that you have achieved something, and then you move on to other assignments. For example, like you said earlier, I have other commitments in the community and the church, and so I get to do all of that too, and still come back, reflect on my day, and then plan for the next day, and then that's
quite interesting. But let me just take you on this. There's a current trend around feminism, and how that people think, especially women, married, young people think that it has to be 50-50 in marriage. It has to be, it has to, I'm not going to be doing the house chores or doing the cooking. We also have a timetable for who cooks. Sometimes the man should cook, sometimes the woman should cook. Within the wake and the context of all of these feminist movement ideologies, how do you manage your home? Are you influenced by them? You don't care? Or what exactly? How do you approach all of this? Yeah.
Again, remember I said from the outset that value is what drives me.
Exactly.
What value are you bringing to the table? So for me, if that's my driving force, then I also understand that regardless of your position, you also have to bring something on board.
Great.
So yes, the man is the leader, he's the head, but I also as the wife should support in whatever way is required of me. There should be a balance. You bring in A, B, C, I should be able to bring in Z, Q, Y. You know, just so that there is a balance, because it's unfair with the economic situation. It's unfair that you leave the total burden to one person. So it's only fair that you bring your own quota and ensure that the family thrives together.
And we talk about this to both gender in marriage, and both the male and the female. And so because we also have situations now where, because the woman is doing a lot, the guy who is married to the lady seems to just become lazy, and then allow the woman to take over the responsibility of taking care of him and the family, which of course I don't think it's a fair deal. But taking from that conversation around feminism, I just want to ask you, I want you to reflect a bit about your teenage phase and the challenges that you face as a teenager. How are you able to escape all the things that bedevil teenagers? Teenage pregnancies, going into drugs, partying hard, jumping from one nightclub to another, eloping with somebody. I mean, having very wild kind of life and all of that. How are you able to escape this phase of your life and not being affected by some of these realities that face teenagers?
Okay, I want to give some good kudos to my family background.
Great.
I grew up in a family where discipline was upheld to the highest point. Like, there are certain things you cannot do. You cannot be found outside of the house after 7 p.m.
Amazing.
You cannot. And so it was so much ingrained in us to the extent that even when I started living on my own, it was odd. I thought that, now I'm living on my own, I can go out, I can do this, I can do that. It was already there. It was already inbuilt. So even when I started staying on my own, I just followed through. So that's that point when the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he grows, he will not depart. Truthfully, it helps, it works, because I have that upbringing that there are certain things you should do, there are certain things you should not do. There's a time for everything. My mother would let you know that you shouldn't mess up yourself. In fact, my mother will wake you up around 2 a.m. I don't know if any woman has that. She will wake you up around 2 a.m. and she will give you stories upon stories on how you should not allow that man use you or touch you or do anything to you that shouldn't be. She will give you so many stories, and then she would make you know that this thing, at this point, you don't need it. Just focus. Do what you need to do at this time, and then there's time for everything.
Fantastic. Yes. But again, just let's imagine you were a teenager in this dispensation or in this generation. Let's just say you are a Gen Z who is now faced or influenced by the things that happen on social media, the internet, and all its impact on our lives. How would you advise a teenager who is currently faced with the influences across the streams I've mentioned, what would you say to a teenager around values and morals? To somebody who thinks that celebrity who is divorced, that celebrity who lives a very wild life on social media, is the right influence for him or her. What would you say to a teenager?
Well, again, I'll still go back to background.
Yeah.
It's important that you understand who you are. It's important that you know where you're coming from. It's important.
So where you're coming from means what exactly?
Your family background.
Right.
What are the principles?
So what would you say about people from broken homes, people who didn't grow up in the context of family like you did? I mean, what would you say to those kind of persons?
Again, I also know that not everyone is opportune to grow in a family setting. I understand that, which is no fault of theirs. But we all know that at a particular stage of our lives, we know our left from our right, regardless of the home you're being brought up from.
Sure.
So if you understand that this is the right thing and this is what should be done at this stage, then you stick to it, regardless of what is going on around you.
True.
You know that at this point of my life, this is not what is expected of me. Then it's all about discipline and focus. You can't take that away because there are so many distractions all over. The internet, social media, Instagram, everywhere you have things buzzing at you, unsolicited. But now the onus is on you to say, no, this is not the right thing for me. I'm sticking to this. I'm staying focused. And we all went to school. We all were also faced with these pressures. I remember back then in university, I told myself that I wasn't going to have any relationship until I get to my final level. You know, of course they were all around me. Of course they all came to me. But of course I had my own determination and focus and my resolve that I'm not getting into this until my final year. And to a very large extent, I stuck to that.
Great. Just to say before we go on break, I want you to just talk about the kind of pressure that we face from social media. Some celebrities have become the template for marriage. Some celebrity marriages breaking up here and there have become a norm. Every night you wake up to another divorce and separation. How have you been able to manage the pressure from social media? Do you feel backward in any way? Do you feel you have failed in any regard? Do you feel that some people are some steps ahead of you in any way? Just because of the kind of life that people live on social media. I just wonder, what's your interpretation of what happens on social media?
So for social media, if you go with social media, you put yourself under undue pressure. The important thing is, what have you set for yourself? How far have you gone with what you have set out to achieve? Are you on course or have you deviated? If you have deviated, then find your way back to the track. And if you're on course, please keep going. Forget about the noise. Forget about the influence. Forget about all that is happening out there. You have a goal. You have a path. You have a location. Focus on your location and keep moving until you get there.
So we'll go on a short break and we'll be back to continue. Thank you.
In the heart of Africa's dynamic development sector, one man stands out for his unwavering commitment to positive change. Meet Samuel Ikani, a seasoned development practice professional with 15 years of experience shaping the landscape of development. Armed with a diverse educational background, Samuel is a certified evaluator, researcher, and project management specialist. Samuel has facilitated and organized both national and international training programs, leaving an indelible mark on the minds of those he engages with. Samuel has been a trusted resource person and consultant to notable organizations, assisting them in developing strategic plans, frameworks, and intervention that set the stage for impactful initiatives. In addition, he has a passion for solving stubborn problems. As a prolific author, he has contributed to the academic landscape with numerous published articles, sharing insights and research findings that contribute to the ongoing discourse in the field of development science. Beyond this, Samuel is a faith-driven entrepreneur and investor, always seeking business opportunities aligned with ethical values, sustainable practices, but with social impact. But Samuel's journey doesn't end with his professional endeavors. He's also the host of the thought-provoking podcast, From Chaos to Clarity, where he explores the intersection of faith, entrepreneurship, and personal development. Samuel Ikani, a true visionary, weaving together the strands of development, faith, and entrepreneurship to create a tapestry of positive change, particularly with among young people.
All right, so welcome back to our conversations, and my guest is still Oluchi Okolo. Thank you, welcome, and thank you for being here once again. So, I want to ask you a bit of a personal question. What would you say what would be your recommendations on how career women ought to prioritize marriage and their career or their jobs and businesses and still achieve, balance across board? What are the practical insights that you could share?
Balancing the family and career.
Yeah.
Well, again, I always talk about having a goal, having a picture of what you want to achieve. And what's the picture for me is having a wholesome success of both the family life and your career life. I don't want half and half. I want the full picture.
Amazing.
I want to eat my cake and I also want to have it. Yes. So for me, you have a goal. I want a successful marriage. I want a successful family life. I want to see my family doing very well. At the same time, I also want to do very well in my career. I want to get to the peak of my career. So with that in mind, everything I do would have to align with that goal. So it comes to setting that goal and then taking steps to achieving that goal.
Great. Okay, just an extension from that is in my counseling session with parents, right? A lot of parents are currently struggling with parenting, especially that a lot of us who are millennials are now parents to Gen Zs and disruptors. And so what exactly are going to be your advice to parents who are currently parents of children who are exposed to the internet, exposed to social media, exposed to some kind of perversions in our society? What are the recommendations you will make? And I need to make it very, very practical, and as much as you can.
Interesting, because we are all facing the same pressures, but it is important to note that you cannot leave your responsibility to anybody.
Great.
Not to the teachers, not to the domestic staff, not to the house help, not to anyone, not even to the pastors.
Wow.
You have to play your role as a mother, you have to play your role as the father. Regardless of your hustle, you have to find time to do your job. It is your job. It is you are the parent. So you should sit down, find time and school your children. When I mean school, I don't mean plus and minus. I mean teach them. Teach them what are the principles you want these children to grow up with. What are the principles you want them to learn as they grow. You cannot shift your responsibility to anybody. It cannot work. So for me, I would drive home the point that find time and teach your children. Find time and school your children. Find time and parent your children.
Find time and parent your children. These days, parents even try to dump their children at the for summer holidays during school holidays, and because they don't have time. I know a couple of parents who don't have time they don't even see their children in the morning before they jump out to work. So as early as 6 a.m. they're out, and they come back very late. The children are already asleep, and you do that for 1 week, 2 weeks, and your children are not able to tell what their father or their mom looks like. A lot of those kind of lifestyle in cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and sometimes in Abuja here. But again, Parenting is a big deal.
It is.
And a lot of time people say that when we get it right at the family front, then the society will be the most, will benefit the most. But there are no models to follow. But what exactly are the family values that you think that we should learn to imbibe as young couple? Because young people these days who are married, people who in their 30s or early 40s, have a lot of pressure they're dealing with. But what are the values that we can imbibe to help, with the marriage, tensions, the pressures and all of that? What exactly should we do? To just keep quiet and all of that?
So like you rightly pointed out, unfortunately, there's no template.
Right.
There's no template.
Yeah.
So you need to sit down, identify what is lacking.
Yeah, exactly.
And find a way to bridge whatever is lacking. There are influences out there, no doubt about that. But have you taught these children? Have you sat down with your spouse? Have you communicated? Have you understood what the challenges are? Have you understood where the gap has been and what has influenced that gap? You need to sit down, take some time out. There are so many things out there we're running after. Business, career, this and that. But the family comes first. The family is a pivotal part of the society.
True.
If we miss it here at the family level, then the society is done for. And that's what is playing out in the society, because we have missed out on the basic. We have missed out on the foundation. And once the foundation is broken, what can the righteous do?
Right. So we'll be concluding on this conversation soon. Finances, or managing finances, is one of the challenges that young couples face. And it's, sometimes it can create some kind of financial embarrassment in the family because they are able to meet their short-term, obligations or bills. For instance, we have families where children are turned back home from school because their parents are not able to pay school fees or bills in the house. What are the practical ways you think that young couple, with the pressure we go through and we face, what are the practical ways you think that young couples, can keep their finances in check and, still thrive within the context of whatever we face as our economic realities?
For me, first things first, have a mini conference between you and your spouse.
A mini conference.
Yes.
Amazing.
Understand where we are.
Okay.
What do you have? What do I have?
Exactly.
Where are we at this point?
Right.
And based on where we are, then we know what we can accommodate.
Wow.
If you know your level is on A, then what are you looking for with Z?
Okay.
There's no point putting that pressure on yourself. Yes, you will grow. Life is such that we grow. And if you grow, you would remain on top. But if you just go up without having to grow, then you'll crash. So it's important that you understand where you are at every point in time. Based on your current state, then you know what to take on. For example, those beautiful schools, those very rich schools are good to have, but can you afford it at this time? Right. If you can't afford it, then keep yourself where you can afford. You don't need that pressure. Life is already very difficult. Why add more? So, it's important that you understand where you are at every point. Once you grow and you can accommodate more things, why not? Move on to the next place, move on to that school, move on to that business, move on to that thing that you really admire that you want, but know where you are per time and let that influence your decision.
Fantastic. So know where you are per time and let that influence your decision. So you are not supporting the think big kind of thing?
No, you should think big.
And talk big.
You should think big, but please stay focused. Stay real. Stay real.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Because we are told that when we talk big and we speak big, then we are bound. Big things are bound to happen to us.
Yes. Affirmations are good.
Good. Yeah.
They are very good. Tell yourself you want to do this.
But Nigerian realities can.
Of course. So still face your reality. Still face your reality.
So there are realities that can make our affirmation a bit
in the meantime, yes.
Okay, so we have to review and adjust.
Yes, but still hold on to your affirmations.
Fantastic,
Yes.
fantastic. All right, so what does the next 10 years of your life look like?
What does the next 10 years of my life look like? Ooh. For me, it means taking some very huge steps.
Great.
Some very great strides that made
Yeah,
it
but we don't want to know the specifics.
No.
But you can give us a general picture, a big
Yes.
picture. What does it look like?
I know that I'll be doing certain things out of the norm.
All right,
I will be taking some huge, bold steps.
fantastic.
I might not know the full picture, but I'm ready to jump in and see how I go with that.
Right. So could you tell us one or two women who have positively influenced your life outside your mom? I know you mentioned your mom. There may be people who you are close to. There may be actresses and whoever. Who are the people that you think?
Pastor Bimbo Dukoya of blessed
Amazing.
memory, she
Amazing.
has influenced me
Amazing.
in no small ways.
Amazing.
Even in death, she
Amazing.
still influences me through her books,
Wow.
her tapes, and her works. So
Wow.
for me, she has challenged me that even in death, you can still be of relevance.
Right.
You can still
Exactly.
add value. You
Yeah.
can still make a difference.
Yeah.
So based on my experience with her, I've learned that there are certain things you can do right now that will keep you relevant even when you're gone.
Great.
Yes.
Pastor Bimbo Dukoya, blessed memory. Yeah, I had an opportunity to meet her as well, and she was on my campus at the University of Jos, and I was blessed by her ministry. Just in closing, what would be your favorite quote? What would be your favorite inspiration talk to that 20-year-old who is at the junction of making a critical life decision? It might be marriage, it might be where do I go next? What would you say in summary?
I'll say
Speak to that 20-year-old.
understand who you are. Understand the child of who you are. Understand your purpose. Understand your assignment. Understand why you were created. Understand what you are to achieve. Because that will determine a whole lot of factors. That will determine the person you will end up with. That will determine the organization you will work with. That will determine the kind of business you would engage in. Knowing who you are, understanding your purpose, understanding your assignment will in a large way influence other decisions. So know who you are first before you take that step.
Oluchi, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for finding time to come on set today. We'll have you again. I will have you again and again. I will keep having you. There are some other stories that I know that we will share with time as God permits you to share. So thank you, everyone. And thank you for listening into our program from Chaos to Clarity. It was a wonderful time with Oluchi Monyo Kolo. I don't want to say so much about her, but she's a very wonderful person. And we've been together for a while. And she has a lot to share. So we'll bring her back again on set. So until another time and until we come your way again, keep living your life productively, knowing that you can swing your life from the negatives to the positive and from moving your life away from chaos to clarity. Thank you. Cheers. See you again. I want you to know that beyond the thoughts you keep about yourself, God has great thoughts about you. So it's important for us to chance on God's thoughts about us. And how can we do that? The Bible is a great resource to know the thoughts that God has about us, to know the thought that God keeps about us. What is important is that beyond the realities of our circumstances, it is comforting to know, and it is okay to rest in the thoughts that God keeps about us. So they are thoughts of good, they are not thoughts of evil. They are thoughts to bring us to a future, and they are thoughts to bring us to an expected end. I want you to know that the quality of thoughts that you keep also connects to the quality of thoughts that God has about you. And so in Philippians 4 verse 8, Paul admonishes us. He says, the things that are lovely, the things that are excellent, the things that are noble, the things that are of good report, we should think on these things. My friend, you can swing the results of your life from the negatives to the positive by simply engaging with the thoughts that God keeps about you. And God's thoughts are not far-fetched. They are right in His Word, the Scriptures, the Bible. You can live from today living a productive life. You can live from today living an excellent life. Only by doing this just one thing. Change the quality of thoughts that you keep and connect to the quality of thoughts that God keeps about you. Thank you.